July is looking promising for horror and thriller fans with films like Maxine, Longlegs, and Twisters hitting cinemas. But what movies can you watch at home? Well, I've got a bunch of hidden gems ready for you. These are the films that you'll be able to stream from home this month. The Last Breath hits VOD from the 1st of July, and it tells the story of a group of old college friends who reunite on a scuba diving trip, exploring the wreckage of a World War II battleship. But they find themselves trapped inside the underwater labyrinth of rusted metal. And of course, they're surrounded by great white sharks. This is sadly the last film of the late Julian Sands, and the director of this film has a track record of similar themed movies, with The Dive and Breaking the Surface also under his belt. Underwater thriller horror fans, make sure you mark this one on your calendars for the 1st. Since 2023, we have been waiting for the release of psychological thriller Exposure, and I know some of you are going to love this concept. I'm so thrilled to announce that it's finally hitting VOD this month. Starring Douglas Smith, the movie is about a traumatized man with a very particular fear. He is convinced someone is trying to break into his house and poison him. The people around him force him to face his fears head on in exposure therapy. The trailer looks really interesting, and it's a different take on fear than I've seen before. Catch this one on VOD from the 9th. Period horror Thine Ears Shall Bleed has announced dates for both its US and UK release. The movie is set in the 1860s in the American West, where a minister and his family, who are traveling in a wagon, hear a mysterious sound coming from the woods. The sound is overpowering, and they believe it could be the voice of God, and they begin to worship it. But is it as holy as they believe? This is a really interesting concept, which I'm all for in indie horror. Check this one out from the 9th in the US or the 15th in the UK. Horror thriller Dead Whisper hits VOD this month. This film is about Elliot, a man who boards a ferry on business but is redirected to a nightmare island off the coast. Here, a strange entity offers him a once-in-a-lifetime reunion, but at a huge cost. I find the trailer imagery very cold and strange. Think trapped in an endless nightmare with themes of grief and desperation. The film hits VOD and rental platforms on the 9th. Who here doesn't love a good murder mystery? The Inheritance takes place on the 75th birthday of a billionaire who invites his estranged children back home out of fear of his own safety, putting a piece of their own inheritance on the line to make sure that they'll protect him. The movie is labeled as a horror thriller, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of bloody twists. And the trailer has a very interesting approach. Have you ever seen a paranormal murder mystery? Well, add this one to the list. It does look a little bit janky, but it may still be a fun popcorn ride. Check it out from the 12th, and it will also be in select cinemas on the same day. Nicolas Cage's latest action horror thriller finally hits Shudder this month. Unfortunately, it's only for people in the US and Canada. The film takes place in a strange future where life as we know it has been decimated. Now, a man and his 2 sons struggle to survive the endless threats during sundown. But one night, they become separated, which forces the family to execute a desperate and dangerous plan. I cannot wait to check out Arcadian. It is on Shudder in the US and Canada from July 12th. Quirky fantasy horror The Blue Rose will also hit VOD this month. The film follows 2 rookie detectives who set out to solve a murder case but end up in an alternate reality made of their worst nightmares. The film not only has inspiration from many of the horror greats, but it also serves an extra hint of Lynchian atmosphere, with Ray Wise dropping in. If you are looking for something a little bit offbeat, check out The Blue Rose. It hits limited theaters and VOD on the 12th. We have spoken about this next film, Humane, before, but the film is hitting US Shudder on the 26th, so if you've been holding out for it to hit a streaming platform, well, now is your chance. The film takes place in a dark dystopian future where a global ecological collapse has forced the world to reduce its population. Now, a privileged family is gathered by the parental figures as they announce their new plan. This film is directed by Caitlin Cronenberg, and although I felt like it had a great cast cast and setup, it was a little bit clumsy, but I do think it's well worth a watch for its interesting subject matter. This one is really exciting. Matt Smith and St. Maud's Morford Clark star in a new vibey folk horror. This is called Starve Acre. This one comes out at the end of the month, and I cannot wait because it's been on my to-watch list for a while now. The movie centers around a couple whose son begins to act strangely. Now their life is thrown into turmoil as sinister forces enter their home. This British drama horror is set in rural Yorkshire in the 1970s and promises to send shivers up your spine with its unnerving atmosphere. Check this one out from the 26th on VOD. I, for one, can say I am done with women in the windows, in the photographs, on the train, but the girl in the pool has oddly got my attention. Starring Freddie Prinze Jr. in an anxiety-packed scenario, this thriller is about Tom, whose life collapses when his mistress is found dead in his pool. Terrified of the consequences, he is desperate to protect his family and conceals the truth, triggering a chaotic night. Now, if that doesn't sound like a good Sunday night viewing for a horror thriller fan, I really don't know what does. If you love anxiety-fueled films, that is. This one is streaming from the 26th, and you bet I'm watching. What are you guys looking forward to this month? Let me know down below. And don't forget, I checked out The Quiet Place and Maxine last week if you want some spoiler-free tips on what to expect and if it's worth your time and money. Thank you to my patrons for making these videos possible, and I'll talk to you guys very soon. Stay safe and stay spooky.